In this leader feeder, we're going to look at the open door policy and the chain of command. How do you respect that? As a frontline leader or a senior manager, you want to encourage people to come and talk to you about a variety of different subjects. That's the open door policy, right? Anyone can talk to anyone at any time and bring up any questions or concerns. But what happens when that open door policy then actually starts to violate the chain of command? How do you respect the fact that your supervisors and managers may have been bypassed by that employee when they've come directly to you as the senior leader? So here's a few suggestions. First of all, realize that when someone comes and brings something to you and you ask them, and that's one thing you should do, did you run this by your supervisor already? If the person says, no, I didn't, then what you're interested in is why. Why didn't you run this by your supervisor? Now, typically what you're going to hear is, well, my supervisor would shoot down the idea to begin with. And you don't want to be sensitive to that because it is possible that the person's supervisor wasn't a good listener or wouldn't respond to what the person was asking of them. But because they've bypassed that supervisor or manager, you as the senior leader, you got to watch it, because if you give them a direct answer that says, well, here's what I think you should do, or it's okay with me, if you actually give them a decision, what they're going to do is they're going to go back down to their frontline supervisor and said that you, the big boss, said it was totally okay to go ahead and do that. And then, of course, the supervisor will feel disrespected. Instead, what I'd suggest is, hey, thanks for bringing this to my attention. You know what? I'm not going to make a decision on this because this is something I need to involve your supervisor in. And then what you would do as the senior leader is you would go and talk to that person's leader and say, hey, so-and-so came to me and asked me, about this particular subject. But I know that I'm only hearing one side of the story. So I wanted to run it by you first and hear if there's any background. Because usually that's when you're going to hear that the supervisor says, oh yeah, that guy has been pushing me for a long time to do it, but he's got this problem, or he's always asking for these things. And then you as the leader can say, hey, I wasn't even aware of all that. So then that allows you to be more informed. And then one of two things can happen. Either you can ask the supervisor to get back to the employee with the decision or the information, or you might follow up as the senior leader and say, I talked with the supervisor. It sounds like there's some other circumstances going on there. And what I really appreciate in the future is that you'd run it by your supervisor first. And then if you don't get the kind of reaction that you were hoping to get, or you're not happy with what you've seen, then by all means, please come up and talk to me at any time. I think if you manage the whole open door policy while still respecting the chain of command, what you would find is that your leadership team will feel more respected. It'll create a sense that it's one consistent leadership team as opposed to a bunch of fragmentation. The other thing is you'll avoid this whole, like, I'm going to ask mom, and if I don't like the answer I get there, I'm going to go and ask dad until I get the answer that I want. Your supervisors will certainly appreciate that they know that you're not going to make decisions or tell people things that you wouldn't have at least informed them of. So managing the open door policy, respecting chain of command, that's just another skill that you as a leader, whether you're at the management level, the executive level, or even if you're at the front line level, you want to make sure that your team goes to their most direct supervisor or leader first before appealing to you as the higher court. Now, in addition to this episode, you might want to also have us in to work and do workshops for your team. So you can reach out to us on our website at frontlineleadership.com, or you could buy some of our books or videos. Or you might want to join in with other like-minded leaders on our learning community, which we have at Frontline Leader on Facebook.